Well, I haven't reset it since I took the batteries out so long ago.
Reset it?
Yeah. I pulled the batteries out and it took a long time for it to reset. So it's lost the day, it's lost the time, it's lost all that information.
So it's beeping just to let you know that?
Yeah, it gave me a warning ahead of time, so.
Oh, I see.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's letting you know in case the date and time
It's
stamp is vital to your...
Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I got it.
Okay.
Not meatwad yet.
Yet.
Yeah. I better say that because I don't know.
Yeah, okay. You know it's recording, right? I guess that would be a no.
No, I had no idea.
Welcome to the Vicis Interimo 30 Minutes to Kill podcast.
You are listening to the Vicis Interimo show, 30 Minutes to Kill. More or less. The incredible podcast with the unpronounceable name.
Well, we're here at last to record episode 381 of the Vicis Interimo show. 30 Minutes to Kill, more or less.
300 and what?
381.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I told someone the other day we did over 300 of them.
Well,
I should say we've done almost
nearly
400.
Nearly 400, yeah. That's,
We go for quantity, not quality.
I think that might be true.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
That's quite all right.
Didn't mean to butt into your intro there.
That's fine. We are a movie review podcast featuring horror, suspense, and psychological thrillers.
Yeah.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher's, Podomatic, and just about anywhere.
Pod pickle.
Type in Blueberry.
Blueberry.
Type in VICISINTERIMO.
Pod pickle and blueberry are still around, right?
They are still around there.
Okay.
I don't know who uses them, but
I like the food ones.
Stitchers and Podomatic Podomatic is actually where it's hosted, but
yes, Podomatic.
Stitcher's probably the newest and hottest. Yeah, probably not. There's probably even more.
iHeartRadio.
There you go.
Don't go there, folks.
I am your host, Michael Mad Saxon Jones, here with my lovely wife and co-host, Lori. Our show generally contains 4 segments laid to rest where we tie up loose ends from previous shows, a short review of a featured movie, garbage in, garbage out, where we tie up loose ends as regards to TV shows, movies, books, anything we may have caught in the last week or so. And we end with a crawling chaos, a topic or factoid we have never discussed on the show before.
Uh-oh.
Sometimes silly, sometimes serious. Most always chaotic.
Yeah, do you have one?
I do. I have one.
Okay.
It's one that we talked about earlier in the week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, when we do our laid to rest segment, I have something to talk about.
Yeah.
A previous crawling chaos.
Let's get right into that then. Wait for the gunshots.
So what do you think I'm going to talk about for
I know what
rest?
you're going to talk about. Sir Turdington.
Turdington.
Yes.
So for those who got to hear my crawling chaos a couple weeks ago about Sir Turdington, our giant swallowtail butterfly.
Yes.
Well, was it yesterday? The day before?
Yeah. The day before.
He emerged.
He emerged finally.
Yes. And boy, was he a big, beautiful butterfly.
Yes.
And now he's gone.
Considering what he started out as.
He started out looking like a bird dropping.
Yeah. Hence the name.
Hence the name,
right.
Sir Turdington.
Indeed.
So you can either go back and listen to that crawling chaos, or you could go online and just research giant swallowtail butterfly caterpillar, and you'll see what we're talking about.
Maybe I'll find something to put in the show artwork too.
Yeah, you'll see how he got his name.
Yeah.
I've got lots of photos.
Yes, you do.
Of the whole
process.
Everything but the egg.
Yes. Well, and him emerging per se.
Almost.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other laid to rest? What did we talk about last week?
Well, we talked about the fact that this may be our final year doing this. We don't know.
You have more to say about that?
I don't necessarily have more to say. I don't want to.
Okay, well, it's not laying to rest then. Not yet.
I'm just reiterating that for anybody that maybe didn't tune in for the entire episode or something. Yeah,
that's something we're kicking around.
Things happen, things change, things. We don't go into a lot of discussion of personal stuff because this should be 30 minutes that you can count on just being fun and outside reality, what have you. Anyhow, I will say that we've had a couple of non-life-threatening surgeries around here lately, and not you or I.
I was going to say.
Not you or I, but there's a lot of some other things that are taking up some of our.
Okay, I was going to say. Well, now you're discussing why we're releasing this late this week.
Also, yeah.
Maybe.
Well, there's more to it than all that. But anyhow, that's not the point.
There's all kinds of life stuff.
The point is that while we are absolutely grateful to our patrons at Lonely Bob, Big LV, and Goldafish, I also want to give them a heads up well in advance of anything that might happen. So we don't want to discourage anybody else from joining if you want to. You can always find us on Facebook, Podomatic. Facebook would be the place to join, the Facebook group.
Yeah. I posted some fun stuff there today.
Yes, you did. And you can, of course, find us through Patreon and so on. But enough about that.
Yeah, we're not gone yet.
So let's talk about...
Yeah.
Well, we've already talked about Sir Turddington. Was there anything else that you had?
What was the movie we did last week? I don't remember being very happy about it.
You know what it was? It was Germ Z or Germ.
Yeah, all right.
Or, all right. Well, we had such a good string of them. This was maybe a little bump in the road. But here we're going to be talking about
it was a giant bump in the road.
Deadtime stories, but I don't think there was anything else to really cover from last week or any other things to lay to rest. So
I could talk more about how horrible that movie was.
No, that's not necessary.
I've got a whole list of things.
We can move on. The only other thing that I would tie up is we finally finished the entire season of Carnival Row.
Right.
And while that could arguably go in, garbage out, laying it to rest, we finished the entire season.
Yeah, we talked about it a couple weeks.
We already talked it, for previous ones. And I just want to say, what did you think about that, Carnival Row?
It was good.
I liked it better when it ended. No, that sounds terrible. I liked
You thought it ended strong.
I thought it ended strong, and it got me excited for the story to continue.
Okay.
It was only 8 episodes. It took a while.
Right.
Not for me to get into it. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it just, story-wise, it felt like it had a strong ending to me, and I'm going to be sad if I don't see another one now.
Oh, okay.
There was a point where I could have, take or leave it, but then I got to, where the mythology was established and everything else, and so that's laid to rest. So, at this point, we will move on to Deadtime stories and my stories regarding that.
Yeah, your disappointment.
Well, sure. Yeah, there's that. So for Deadtime stories, as we mentioned briefly previously, we saw Germ Z, whichever.
You're bringing that up again?
Because it was on a disc or a set of 14 movies.
Yes, it was.
That somebody was kind enough, your niece was kind enough to let us borrow.
Yeah.
And I saw Deadtime stories on there. And
she's your niece too.
Yes, that's true. Okay.
You can't get away from this family.
Right. No matter how I try. So anyhow, I was so excited. I was ecstatic. I saw Deadtime stories. I got so excited.
I know.
Back in the day, I used to live in the jungle, for those of you that aren't familiar with California and so on.
Even people in California don't know what you're talking about.
Did it really? Well,
Probably.
some do, some don't. Anyhow, the jungle.
If you live out that way, you know.
Okay. So it's South Central is basically what I'm saying here. So if you've seen White Men Can't Jump, or if you've seen Training Day, you know the area that I'm talking about. Anyhow, my point was we used to sit around, we used to watch movies all the time. It was a good time. So there's a certain amount of nostalgia attached to this. I saw Deadtime Stories. I got so excited, I called one of my friends, and I said, hey, Steven, do you remember that movie Deadtime Stories? And the first thing he did was he broke into song singing Three Little Pigs Blown Out of Their Digs, and we just burst into gales of laughter.
Okay.
Because that's how it started. Yeah.
And that was like probably 30 years ago.
Yes, yeah.
Or something around there.
Something like that. Thanks for dating me.
Sure.
And thanks for dating. Yeah, anyhow. Yeah,
Hey, if I hadn't dated
this
you.
is not the Deadtime Stories that we...
No, yeah, that was a big story just
see.
to be like, womp womp.
Yeah, well, I want them to share my disappointment, so understand that going into this movie, it had a big old strike against it.
Yeah, this movie's just...
This is 2000, this is an anthology.
Yeah.
Well, Deadtime Stories, the
Was it
original...
like about 10 years old or something?
Yeah, exactly, 2009. Or at least that's
okay.
what it's listed at for
Right.
IMDb.
So as soon as it started, I remember your reaction. What is this? Doesn't look familiar.
There was no hard rock song.
You were all geared up and ready.
I
And
thought I was going to get something akin to Green Jelly in it. But no, I did not get that.
Sad.
Yeah. So, instead I was introduced to Uncle George Romero, sitting there.
Yes.
Narrating.
Because
into
it's
the TV.
actually, when you look it up online and you find just the movie by itself, not in a big dollar bin bargain movie fest like
Right.
we've got here. Man, Germsy was horrible. This is actually George Romero.
Yeah, presents
Deadtime Stories, Volume 1.
Yeah. All right.
We have Volume 1 and 2.
We do.
Yes.
Up till now, we've been completionists, but I'm not necessarily 100% convinced that we need to do Volume 2.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, let's talk about this.
Let's get to this one.
Yes.
Sorry, we're meandering. Well, I am anyhow.
You are, for sure.
I'm so happy to talk to people again. Sorry. So,
What?
I said I'm so happy to talk to our friends again.
And you're talking about ending the podcast at the end of the year?
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Anyhow, okay. Back on track.
Yes.
Rein it back in.
Uncle George.
The problem that we always have, though, with anthologies, with talking about reviewing anthologies, is it's like going through three mini movie reviews, and you can't.
Yeah, we can do
I feel
it
like they can't help but suffer by being compared to each other, because watching any one of these things,
Well, yeah, because they're always very different.
because they're almost always
Different in quality, different in entertainment, different in
with a few
talent.
exceptions, such as Trick or Treat
Yeah.
with Sam the Rock.
That's not an anthology.
Oh, okay.
That's not a bunch of little mini
okay.
films. Is it a bunch of separate mini films all put with a beginning, a middle, and an ending? And then a beginning, a middle, and an ending, each with a different title, with a different writer and director and everything? No. It's not an anthology. Stop it.
What about Creepshow then? Was Creepshow?
Absolutely.
So that is an anthology.
Well, they were all separate stories, unrelated. Each one had its own
But I feel
beginning,
like-
middle, and ending.
Okay, I could have watched Creepshow
Were they tied together with the
with a
little
wraparound story.
Yes,
Sure.
of course.
Okay, but I was going to say
This
those
didn't
didn't
have
necessarily
any-
suffer in quality. Of course, that was all Stephen King, and that was more. Okay, never mind.
What are we doing?
We're talking about Deadtime Stories.
Gosh,
All right, what was the first one?
I don't know. It's called Valley of the Shadow.
Valley of the Shadow.
Okay, well, let's just be quick about it.
Let's be quick.
All right, you know what? I'm going to rate these. Number one was, not number one on my list. Okay, the first one was Valley of the Shadow.
Yeah.
The second one was called Wet. And the third one was called House Call.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them in this order. House Call, Wet, and then, Valley of the Shadow was at the end. Okay, but that being said,
Okay.
Valley of the Shadow, that was the beginning of the movie,
Right.
and I thought, oh, have mercy, this is going to be horrible. It's like Germ Z all over again, an hour and a half that I'm going to have to sit here and be sad. But you know what? I wasn't for any of these. Valley of the Shadow, where it was definitely my least favorite. It was kind of amusing.
Okay.
I mean, I found myself just kind of watching it and like, I don't know, it was like a little corny, but a little, like, I don't know what was going on with it, but I found it just kind of entertaining, and it amused me. Yes, I found myself smiling.
All right.
For how corny it was and how kind of bad at moments it was.
So I always feel like I always want to preface these things by saying that we understand, and I hate to talk about anybody else's project. I feel like I need to give this whole same spiel, which I always do.
They put a lot of effort into it. Somebody cared about it at least. Because that's always my biggest complaint.
Right.
Last week, sorry, Germ Z, you stink. You're at the bottom of the barrel. And it was
we won't talk about that other movie that you felt that way about either.
Yeah. All right, Feast of Flesh. Is it A Feast of Flesh or it's either Feast of Flesh or whatever, the vampire one where they were gnawing on bones. Horrible. Those movies rate about the same because whoever put them together didn't care.
Okay.
They didn't care enough to take care of like the details and But okay. We're talking about Deadtime stories.
Get back on track here. Yeah,
do you want to say what order you enjoyed these in?
Sure, I will go in this order. My favorite, starting with my favorite, was actually Wet.
Okay.
My second favorite was House Call.
Okay.
And then last was the Valley of the Shadow.
Valley of the Shadow. Sorry, Valley of the Shadow. Okay, but did you think Valley of the Shadow was okay? I
didn't like it as much as you did.
It was pretty... No,
what was that face?
It was bad. It was kind of bad.
But I appreciate there was a lot of things that I liked about it. Saying that I didn't like it and that I liked it less than you.
And the ending of it, I thought, oh, so corny. It was kind of a creep show, kind of corny.
Okay.
Like.
So, I appreciated a lot of things about it. It was uneven.
Well,
and so, this is what I was going to say about I couldn't. The first, I'm going to say 15 minutes of Wet, I don't know if it's 15 minutes or not, but
I'm
the
not sure.
intro of Wet said more and got more done with no dialogue than all of the Valley. And I it's not fair to compare those, and this was my point about earlier.
No, they're all so different,
But watching it, like, it really stood out to me that the camera work for Wet, the way that they presented everything, it spoke more to me.
So Valley of the Shadow was lacking that.
It was
definitely,
But I appreciated it for what it was, and so on.
Because it
sounds
was
like I'm talking down to it and condescending, but it was okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to the quality of the others.
It didn't really explain.
Yeah.
Basically, this lady is looking for funding to go on some kind of expedition, but the expedition just happens to be where her husband went missing. So, it just kind of gave you that a little bit.
You kind of got an info dump here and there.
Enough.
Yeah, there wasn't enough.
It was kind of disjointed and I didn't really
fleshed out enough.
Yeah.
My notes.
Like, and all of a sudden the guy's like, yeah, I'll fund your thing, but I have to go with you. And there were just, but it was a short story and it was just.
This was another one of those times where my notes for it, and I often think this is sometimes people's ideas outshine their budget.
Yeah.
Or like the way you're filming, you have to think about the restrictions of what you have. They did a great job. I enjoyed some of their locations.
Yeah.
But it didn't have enough of that. Whereas I will give credit to Germ Z. I hate to bring that up again, but they had lots of locations. They had lots of things there.
Oh, they had everything, but apparently the talent to actually execute the thing.
Ouch.
For the care.
We'll go with care.
I don't know.
That's okay.
Well, the editing was... you want to go back?
No. I'm sorry.
There were a lot of things wrong with Germ Z.
I'm sorry. Shouldn't derail us here. Let's stick to this.
They were either untalented or they just straight up didn't give a rip.
Okay.
Like they didn't care enough to make it make sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
They tried that.
Those kind of movies make me angry.
With the Valley of the Shadow.
Let's wrap this one up.
Yeah, it was meh. If you get through this, though, I think you're going to enjoy the other two, I guess is the point.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take the time, because in the end, that's generally where we end up with. Do we recommend this or not?
It was definitely definitely the weakest of the three. What'd you think of the ending of it? Too corny?
Oh, God, it was so bad. Because
I know, I was pretty shocked. I was shocked, but like it...
in a bad
it was,
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it should have been
like,
lighter
what?
throughout for it to end up with that ending.
Yeah.
Like it would have made
it was
good.
With the girl when she was pouring the water on her stuff, like the sexy scene. I was like, oh, this is not sexy at all.
I don't.
What is happening?
I don't know.
No.
And I don't know.
There were some really
but there was some promise there,
That's why
too.
it was amusing to
Right.
me, I think. Because
Yeah.
it looked like something that some of our friends we might know might make, or something that we would like rip on them for it later or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really explain it.
But having said that, like I said, I think there's potential. I think if you sharpen it up a little bit more and so on, so that's it.
I mean, the ending was kind of funny, I guess. But it was like, wait, this was supposed to be a comical
If there had been a lead up through there, it would have been good. Anyhow, let's move on to Wet.
So cornbally.
Wet, absolutely. We looked at each other, and I think either you said it or I said it, or the consensus was like, hey, this is something we would have seen at the H.P. Lovecraft Festival.
Yes.
They still had it down here.
Now, we'll just say, we don't want to give anything away. And I would recommend the movie.
Yeah.
I would. You might want to... I guess you could fast forward through Valley of the Shadow, but you should hang in there till you see that corny ending. But Wet was a mermaid story.
Yes.
And there was so many great things happening in that one.
There really was.
I have to say, whoever did that one, they cared. Though, I did not like the ending.
There were a couple of hiccups.
The ending was the worst. Absolutely the worst part.
Yeah.
But it had... the story, it had the acting, it had the music, it had a beautiful location, the setting was great, the set designers, wherever they got to, when our hero went to this man's store, you could tell they got somebody's store to film it in. Like there were some old antique stores, some like everything was very kind of beach themed. You got the feeling it was a little town somewhere on a coast somewhere. So I kind of liked all of that. And the props, those props were great, whoever worked on those.
Yeah.
I don't want to say exactly what they were.
No, we'll leave it at that.
But
it'll be pretty obvious if you take the time to watch it. And this is definitely, I think, worth
you know what? I have to. I mean, I'll just say one thing.
Say one thing.
Just one particular prop that was so well done, and whoever made that gets a giant gold star, and they should go work on Germ Z and redo it for them because this person cared. It was a spine, and it was so beautiful. Like it was so convinced. It was so cool for what it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
and how it looked, and yeah.
All right.
I was like, oh my gosh, that spine, that is so cool.
Gotcha.
It was a work of art.
Okay. So, now we come to our third movie, which is House Call.
House Call.
And this was Tom Savini, I think, directed this one, if I got that right. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. At any rate, though...
Who is Tom Savini?
Well, I was going to say, anybody who listens to this podcast probably already knows who Tom Savini is.
They might not.
You recognize him for all of his work with special effects, starting way back with, what do you call it, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, with those movies. He was Sex Machine and Dust Till Dawn. You definitely recognize him to see him. But anyhow.
This one was my favorite.
It was, okay.
Yes.
Very, well, I'll let you talk about it since you liked it. Not saying I did.
I'm already doing all the talking.
Not necessarily.
Maybe you need to talk.
But, okay, so...
I'm not overpowering.
I don't think so. I'm not sure what didn't work for this one for me. I mean, it worked. I liked it.
Maybe I should do the talking.
You should do the talking, and I'll agree.
I'm going to talk you into loving it.
Okay, talk to me into it.
Because it had the atmosphere.
Yes.
I loved the time period. You kind of were like, is this, how long ago was this?
Mm-hmm.
It's rustic. It's, is this turn of the century rustic country? Is this the 1920s or 30s? Or but you knew it was older times and it was in the country. I loved the oil lamps and it all takes place inside of a woman's home.
Right.
It's kind of dark. So the light, that soft light coming off the lamps and things, all of that stuff I just really loved a lot.
They had some filters and fixtures on there also to make
I was just going to say they had a very interesting way of presenting the film to us.
Right.
It was not, forget the widescreen, because this was, in a square.
Yeah.
They only used, the center of your screen.
Right.
Everything was in a square, like an old television.
Right.
Even the old TVs weren't exactly square. This was pretty square. But it had some weird, flickering effects in there to make you think, it made it feel like it was a little aged. It didn't look like an old film flickering per se, but it was just a weird little effect thrown in there.
Right.
It was all so interesting. I loved all of that stuff.
Okay. For me,
it was tactile.
That was a little bit too much.
Oh, you're crazy.
Probably. But that was my minor thing with it.
You didn't like that.
It was just a little bit too much.
No, you need to watch it again.
Maybe so.
Maybe.
But
I liked that it was a simple story.
Yeah.
It was a woman living in her farmhouse. She lives there with her son.
With a crazy son.
Her son has something wrong with him.
Yes, some issue.
She's tied him to the bed.
Yeah.
Under his request.
Yeah,
he requested.
He did.
So mother calls the country doctor and he makes a house call. So it was just these three characters. Almost all the interaction is just between the doctor and the mother. It was simple. It was neat and clean and made sense. And I just like how it looked.
Yeah. That's why it wound up in the number 2 slot for me. Because...
Well, what? Were you going to put it under Valley of the Shadow? No.
It definitely wasn't.
Yeah, well, it's too bad it didn't make number 2 because you liked it so much. But there's only 3 things here, so...
Fair enough. Yeah, my complaints are marginal. Like I said, they're barely even complaints. They're just...
Well, now, wouldn't it have been weird, though? So if you think those effects were in... Because I didn't think they were overused.
Right.
But if they were even less and you only saw it 1 or 2 times, would you be like, what is that?
Yeah, I guess so.
It still maybe would have worked.
Yeah.
Because that would have been like, did I just see that? Or is there something wrong with the film? Or... I don't know. I'm not quite sure what...
Yeah, I'm not sure
I don't know why they did it or what it's in there for, but I'm glad. No, it doesn't need...
But what I'm saying is, for my complaint, of having just a little bit too much of it, I'm not sure how much would have been appropriate.
Would you have liked it better if instead it did have a little bit of an old film look to it and a light flicker the whole entire time?
Maybe
like you were watching an old film reel?
Maybe. And going back to an independent style thing, I thought more than once of Cool Air.
Yes.
When I was watching this.
Absolutely.
For various reasons.
And Cool Air is a short... Well, it's an H.P. Lovecraft story.
Right.
But what you're referring to is the short...
Movie
off of one of the H.P. Lovecraft compilation.
Yes, yeah.
Which you can't find anymore.
No, because somebody ripped them off. Terrible.
Well, you're talking about Netflix, but yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
You used to be able to rent them on Netflix DVD, but people have stolen them. Oh, yeah. They're gone forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like $80 to purchase, so,
Yeah. So that's why we don't have them.
Thanks a lot, jerks.
Anyhow, moving on. Unless you had anything else to add, I think that was it. So this would be a recommend. Deadtime Stories would be a recommend.
If you like anthology movies, absolutely.
Yeah, if you like,
because as a general rule, I know everybody knows. As a general rule, I can't stand them.
Yeah.
I just don't like them.
Yeah.
They're too choppy and inconsistent. My brain doesn't know what to do with them. But this one overall, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
So yeah, I would absolutely recommend it.
All right.
Because I'm a hard sell.
Fair enough.
Valley of the Shadow isn't great, so I'm not,
Yeah. Be warned.
Yeah.
I am still heartbroken that we didn't get to watch Deadtime.
From the 80s.
From 86 or whatever. So when I saw it was new.
We'll find it.
You know what? There is a Rhino release of it out there.
Yeah.
Somewhere. So.
And you know what? Netflix DVD probably has it, but what did we just do a couple weeks ago? We dumped our
We just gave that
account.
up again. Yeah. Sad. Anyhow, moving on. We're meandering all over and we're going to bore people away. So
yeah.
Let's talk about Doom Patrol. We'll wrap that up for Garbage In, Garbage Out.
Okay. So, now you've already said what we're going to talk about for Garbage In, Garbage Out.
Yeah.
Okay, we wrapped it up. What'd you think?
It was a blast.
Okay.
It was a shotgun blast.
Okay.
It was
Ouch.
a shotgun blast because some of the things hit the target and some of the things went wide.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I've got to say, absolutely. First of all, I've been working on that all week. Anyhow, so
Good job.
I loved that DC did something so far outside the box and so
Yes.
un-DC.
Yes.
It was very.
It
But
was rated R comedy for sure.
But, yeah, and I was going to say that's the problem. They went for a hard R, but they just, primarily it felt like, just went for the hard R with Cliff and, I had her name a second ago. Just Jane swearing every 30 seconds, dropping F-bombs.
Yeah. 30 seconds, they weren't that far apart.
Okay.
Maybe 3 or 4 every 30 seconds.
So I want to see my graphic stuff spread out a little bit wider across the genre.
Yeah.
I want to see more boobs. I want to see more gore. I want to see more colorful language spread throughout more. If it serves the story.
You don't want to be bludgeoned to death with it.
Right. Just when the character shows up on screen, I'm like, well, we're in for 30 minutes of F-bombs now.
Yeah.
But seriously,
I mean, and other things too. It wasn't just the cussing.
It wasn't just that.
Yeah.
But there was a little bit.
For anyone who
throughout.
hasn't seen it, they might think that that's the biggest issue.
The biggest
is just
issue?
yeah.
But
definitely there's some adult material going on in there.
And it's inconsistent because there was
Yeah,
what I want to call some very highbrow humor.
Right.
We talked about that earlier when they made the Grey Gardens reference and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Where like who else would have gotten that and stuff? So I appreciated that.
They were great. That is what kept me
fart
watching.
jokes.
Yeah, the stuff I can't stand.
And the juvenile or even younger humor that was going on, the bathroom humor, the stuff like that. And so, for as much as I loved it and liked it, we looked at. You asked me this the other day, and we normally don't discuss these things until we do the podcast. But like I said to you, I liked it. But, like, who do I recommend it to?
Yeah, I got nobody. I don't know anybody who...
Nobody that I can give this to. It's like, superhero fans aren't going to... There's not enough superhero in it.
Right.
For juvenile, delinquent humor type stuff, whatever, for those friends, there's too much other stuff.
Yeah.
And it just kind of meanders and goes all over.
Yeah.
It's self-aware. I could almost say if you were a Deadpool fan, you would get this because they break the fourth wall.
Oh, yeah.
So if
that's annoying, too.
So I know how you feel about that.
Mr. Nobody.
I'm okay with that. But
that was getting crazy, though, because at the end he's like, oh, well, this season, on this episode of this season, I thought we'd... Like, he's talking about... You know what I mean?
Right.
That was like, okay, that's too much.
Too meta
he's
for
getting
you?
so specific.
Okay, well...
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, it was entertaining enough while I was watching it.
So I was going to say that's our determining factor right there. It was entertaining enough for us to watch it, but it's also been more than a month or two since we finished it.
I could have never gone back. It was entertaining while I was watching it, but if I wasn't watching it, I'd be totally fine.
Yeah.
Because when we started watching it, we watched 1 or 2 or 3 episodes probably the first night, and then the next night we watched a couple. And then
we've let time pass.
And then we quit for months.
Yeah.
That was fine. I wasn't like, oh gee, I want to see the end and see what happens. I don't care.
I was a little bit more that way, and that's why we finished it. So that's done. We tied up that loose end.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else
Unfortunately
that you had to tie up for Garbage In, Garbage Out?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't know. What else did we watch?
Well, we didn't. That's the problem. You're still playing Skyrim.
Nothing? You can't blame that.
I'm not blaming it. I'm just saying that we hadn't really watched anything.
There's this new YouTube channel, and I watched and listened to hours and hours and hours of it this week.
That's not really where we want to go with that.
No?
No, not so much.
I don't just play Skyrim, you know.
Yes. No.
I watched a lot of Tybalt's Apprentice on YouTube.
Indeed. And you did some typing.
TIBALT''S Apprentice. Tybalt's Apprentice.
All right.
They can see your lovely face there.
No,
I gotta say, Enrique is a great guest for you on there. Yeah, I wish you guys could co-host something.
We are.
Yeah.
So
aside from that, no, I don't think we watched that.
All right. So Garbage In, Garbage Out then will be concluded. Now on to the Crawling Chaos.
Okay.
So
that was the longest pregnant pause ever.
It won't be though.
No one else will know. Wow, we just sat here in silence for so long.
Well, because I want to decide how to tackle this.
Okay, I could tell you were thinking.
Yeah, you could see my eyes roll back in my head.
Yeah, there was smoke coming out of your ears.
Because I want to talk about missing Adventure Time.
Oh no.
But yeah, so we've talked about Adventure Time on the show before. So does that really qualify as a Crawling Chaos?
No, we never discussed it ending.
We never discussed the ending of it, and it's been gone for a while now. It's not gone for us because
we watch it every night.
If you've listened to the podcast for a long time, like some people have, like Golderfish.
Yeah.
We used to always end our day with SpongeBob episodes.
Yes.
For a very, very long time. Then it became Adventure Time.
Yeah.
And then Adventure Time ended some time ago. We finally have them all on disc or whatever, so we've seen them millions of times. We make tons of Adventure Time references every day with ridiculous, copious amounts.
Yes.
We make all kinds of references that shorthand between us that would be annoying, not to our listeners, because our listeners would think it's great, I think. That's why we would all fit in together. But
only the ones that know Adventure Time, though.
Well, I'm not saying about that. I'm just talking about other movies and stuff. But yes, with the Adventure Time
if we're not doing Adventure Time references, we're doing Seinfeld references.
Or something out of the horror movies or Tremors or any number of things. But you showed me a video, we're back to videos again, on the breakdown of the final episode.
Yes.
And just that intro. The intro of Come Along With Me.
It was just the intro to the final episode of Adventure Time.
Yeah, and there is so much information in there, and the guy did such a great job on this essay, breaking down and answering those questions. And it's, I think you just, obviously I'll include the link in the show notes on Podomatic, so everybody can go
I watched that, and I loved it so much. I thought, oh my gosh, I have to watch that again. And I kept pausing it, I see what he's talking about in there. There's just so many things.
There's a lot of things that they wrapped up.
Yeah. Well, because if you've ever seen an Adventure Time episode, it's the intro is always the same for the most part.
Yeah.
It's a camera swooping in over the land of Ooh. You're like flying through, and you get little glimpses of each of the areas
Kingdoms.
there. Yeah. Not all of them are in there, but you see the Ice Kingdom, and you see Marceline the vampire in there, and
Vampire Queen, yes.
Huh?
Marceline the Marceline? Wow.
Yes, Marceline. I just said Marceline the vampire, but yes, it ends in in the Candy Kingdom and all this and that.
Yeah.
Well, it ends with Finn and Jake at the end, of course. But for the final episode, they did a special one, and it's 1,000 years in the future.
Yeah.
So, boy, is it chock full of stuff.
Easter eggs. Well, just
1,000 years in the future. Yeah.
And they never explained it. They never.
And it goes by so fast you can't.
Yeah, unless you slow it down.
Because it's just like in every other episode, you're just flying through super fast. You're just getting you're bombarded with these images. It just goes by really fast.
Yeah.
Same thing here. But this guy slowed it down and picked it apart, and wow.
I'm going to say there's as much to unpack as in an episode of Lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
could be true.
Yeah. So.
Were you amazed to find out the episode that is in the future where the space wedding?
Yes.
When it gets disrupted and that poor little person in their spacesuit goes flying out into space, that it's one of Jake's pups, like one of his descendants. I mean, a descendant of
a descendant of a descendant. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Generations in the future.
It happens so fast. I've seen that episode. How many stinking times have I seen that episode? So many times. But unless you slow it down.
Yeah.
Like, you can't see the thing's face, the little creature, it just looks like a weird little bald humanoid, fleshy colored.
It was in a spacesuit until it got knocked out of a spacesuit.
Yes, and all of a sudden it flies out of the spacesuit, but if you freeze frame it, you could see that it has Jake's jowls and stuff, so it's crazy. There's so much stuff going on in Adventure Time.
There is, yeah. And they tried to hit every bit of it. And this is what we love. This is what I can speak for both of them. This is what we love the most, when people, creators, take time to care and put effort into it. There's enough people that cared about Adventure Time, even though it wasn't all Pendleton Ward. It got turned over at the people that took care of it, were stewards for it, guided it through and wrapped it around to those first episodes.
Yeah.
Literally, like the first 2 or 3 episodes even. You know what I mean? Putting stuff in there and Easter eggs. Anyhow, we're going on way too long about this, or at least I am.
About Adventure Time.
Anyhow, as always, you can get in contact with us by emailing me directly at madsaxon@yahoo.com. That's Mad Saxon with 2 X's. And you can look us up on Facebook. Put in VICISINTERIMO. Join the group or the fan page, but yes, definitely join the group.
Well, you like the fan page, but you can join the group.
There we go.
Yeah. We post all the fun stuff in the group, or at least I do.
Yes. Well, I try to, too.
Yeah.
Or you can just friend me, S. Michael Jones.
Yeah.
I think we killed it.
I think we did.
All right.
I talk too much.
Yeah, always.
That's not true.